Welcome back to the channel, guys. This week on Ross Reviews, we've got a 1992 HSV GTS, the original. This is the very first GTS HSV ever produced, a super rare Aussie muscle classic. This is going to be a great show today, so let's check this thing out. That's right, guys. Today I'm here with the original HSV GTS. This is one of HSV's very first production cars, a super rare car, an absolute Aussie legend, and so excited to show you around it today. So let's get into it. Some history about this car first. The VP line was built by HSV to take on the Ford Falcon EB, and this was a competent car. And if you remember back to the 90s, there weren't many options back then, you know? Like if you wanted a car with a big block V8, that was fun to drive, comfortable, you really didn't have many choices here in Australia. And HSV really seized that opportunity to take on Ford. And this is really where you see that rivalry start to take place of Ford and HSV. And I've loved that rivalry ever since I've moved to Australia. Now, this being one of HSV's very first production cars, it was extremely rare and limited to 130 units. They started building these in September of '92, and they stopped production in December of that same year. So only 4 months in production, guys. So just something to mention about the original HSV here. Holden would actually build this entire car, basically. They would manufacture it in Elizabeth, South Australia, and then they would basically send the entire car to Notting Hill, where HSV was, in Victoria. And HSV would go over the whole car, just bolting on everything HSV. So, the wheels, the side skirts, the louvers, the steering wheels, they would just go over the entire car and just HSVify it. Under the hood here, guys, we've got a naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 engine, pumps out around 268 horsepower, 302 pound-foot of torque. Now, this was all ran through a 4-speed automatic gearbox. That's all HSV offered at the time. So this car was really designed to be a tourer. 0 to 60 times in this, you're looking at 7.2 seconds. And that's pretty good considering this is quite a large car, has an automatic gearbox, and remember, this is a 1992. One more interesting fact about the engine here, the block is actually shared with the VN Group A SS. And if you know anything about that car, that was basically a Bathurst race car for the road. So this is nothing to shy away from and pretty solid stuff under here. Alright, so just inside the original GTS here, straight away these bolstered seats are really quite aggressive actually. I'm quite surprised. They've got a really comfortable feel about them though, and you could really tell this would be a comfy ride for a long road trip. Of course, we've got the automatic shifter here like we talked about. You've got your e-brake. You've got some window controls here, so you had power-operated windows, which is a nice touch for a 92. Now, coming up to the wheel, this is an aftermarket wheel the owners put on, but this is essentially the exact same wheel that you would have found on the original. This just has a Momo badge in the middle. It's a really nice wheel. It's basically a racing wheel, and that's what these cars really just came with anyways. Coming up to the gauge cluster, you've got these traditional analog gauges. Little HSV logo in the back there, and it's pretty simple and easy to see. Now this car has got a nice sort of suede material all through the center console. You've got a little armrest here that pulls up to give you a little storage cubby. That is also done in this sort of nice suede material. It's fairly nice in here. The door panels are fairly good. They've got GTS embroidered into the side, and everything is quite power operated. So this being a 92, this was really quite luxurious. Now, I really like the attention to detail HSV did to this car. Even the floor mats here, they've got the HSV embroidered logo on the floor. Even the gas and brake pedal have this nice stainless finish with the HSV logo stained onto them as well. Just gives it that really nice touch and attention to detail you would really want when you're paying for a car like this. In the back seat, guys, plenty of room back there. Easy can fit 3 adults. You've got even climate vents back here, which for 92 would have been very luxurious. They've got their own power-operated button controls for the windows as well, and you've just got a center armrest that falls down. All in all, this is just a really comfortable interior, and for 92, this seems quite advanced. Just one more attention to detail I want to mention before I run out. Just under the carpet here, you've got a little GTS logo on the dash with your build number embroidered on there. So this is build number 24. So this car was number 24 off the line. Only 130 of these made. So this is a really early model. And it's just something really special to know that, you know, only 130 of these were made for the entire world. So just some attention to detail like that I really like to find. Driving the 1992 original HSV GTS. I really love the wheel in this. Steering straight away has got a fairly nice feel. It's got a nice weight to the steering, and surprisingly, it doesn't have that much body roll. I thought it might have a little bit more, but we got to remember this car is 27 odd years old, and I gotta say, for its age, this thing is holding up pretty well. Got a lovely sound, eh? And these seats are just really comfortable. You could really do a long drive in this and have no issues at all. Now the transmission in this, I'm gonna be honest, I was a bit worried. I really thought this transmission was not gonna be very good at all. And obviously I would prefer a manual here, but hey, just having this thing in drive and cruising around these back country roads, it's doing a pretty great job. Such a nice sounding engine, and just the power just comes on so smoothly in the low RPM band here. Just driving this car in the back roads here, I can really tell the way HSV was really going for that luxurious kind of performance cruiser. This thing just feels so luxurious. It's got that balance of luxury and cruising. I think for the time period back in 1992, this thing had a lot of features that none of the other cars would have had. And again, you know, you just ease on that throttle. You just get that lovely, lovely V8 sound. Now this car does feel a little heavy going through the corners, but you know, the suspension soaks it up pretty nicely. Man, yeah, this transmission is surprisingly smooth. It really stays on the top end gear ratio here, and you've really got to plant it to get it to drop down a gear. But for just cruising, this is a perfect gear ratio. Well, this is just such a treat to be cruising today in the backcountry roads here with a real, true, great Aussie legend muscle car here. You know, only 130 of these things were ever built. Who knows how many are left today? And yeah, this thing is just a piece of Aussie history for sure. All right, guys, so that's the original HSV GTS. This thing was a hoot to drive. This is an absolute Australian legend. One of the very first HSVs ever produced. I feel so honored to actually have driven one of these. There's only a handful of these left in the entire country. Like I said, this thing is just a real awesome touring car. The automatic gearbox is surprisingly good just for cruising the back roads, And the sound on this car has just got that really nice note and distinctive HSV sound. There's really not much to hit back at this car. If I was ever going to ask for something, it would have just been to have a manual gearbox, but I totally understand why they went that route. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. Really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you want me to review next in that comment section below. And I do reply to every message, guys, so please hit me up. And yeah, till next week, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again.